So first things first, how are you?
We are fantastic.
We're maybe a wee bit tired, but yeah, overall good.
Yeah, we're nearing the end of our tour with Mother, which has been amazing. We're still having a great time, but yeah, we're great.
Is this the kind of the first proper tour you're doing?
So this is our first tour where we've came to mainland Europe. We've done UK tours before, but this is our first time coming across the... What is it? Between
the Pacific one?
the channel, that's what I meant to say.
Channel.
Across the channel.
No, because I can imagine you as a band, you kind of found your footing right before the whole pandemic happened and the world shut down for a minute. So what was your approach to live playing early on then?
So, well, me and Anna started making music together like before Dead Pony, but actually Dead Pony, when we started doing that, we only played I think maybe one show, and then it went into the pandemic, and then we started releasing music as Dead Pony during the pandemic. So really that was all we were kind of used to in terms of Dead Pony. And then when we came out of the pandemic, we just started like jumping head first into playing as many gigs as possible. And we'd, as Anna said, like we'd never done anything like this tour before, so we got the opportunity to do this and just said yes.
And now nearing the end of the tour, what have you noticed about yourselves being a touring band and maybe perhaps learned about each other?
Probably learned that I like alone time.
Yeah.
Me probably more than anyone else in the band. I appreciate my alone time. And Anna, have you learned anything?
I think I've learned that we all have this perseverance that like when you think about going on the road for 4 weeks and we're not in a bus, we're in a little van, you know, it's been really tough, the drives. And when you think of it, like, damn, we need to drive 16 hours from this one country to this other. In your head, it seems impossible, but we've just found this perseverance that's like really made it worth it. And it's something that I never genuinely thought that we would ever find. I thought we would be miserable the whole time, but we've had an amazing time. I think what that perseverance really is playing a gig every night. That's what makes it worth it, you know, like playing to fans and making new fans.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the day kind of goes from like you drive for like between 6 and like 12 hours, right? Non-stop. Or longer, or 21 hours we did once. Or 24 hours, I can't remember what it was anyway. You drive for ages, you feel miserable, then you play the show, you feel amazing, everything after the show is amazing, and then you wake up the next day and you start travelling again and you kind of fall back down to zero, and then you start working your way back up again. So
totally.
Yeah, it's like ups and downs.
But with that in mind then, because you mentioned you made music before Dead Pony kind of was established, so what was the, perhaps dream isn't the right word, but what was the expectation of being in a band and when being kind of on tour and all that stuff?
I think when we first started the band, it was just as like a hobby, a bit of fun. We were both musicians, we both loved performing, so we thought we may as well just start a band. And your expectations do kind of like shift, don't they, like all the time, because you know, one day your biggest achievement might be that your song got 1,000 streams on Spotify, and then the next day your biggest achievement might be that it got 1 million streams on Spotify. You know, like your expectations are constantly changing. But at the moment, I think, you know, we're just really enjoying making new fans. The Mother fans are so great. They've been so lovely to us, haven't they? And I think, like, I don't really know how to finish the answer to that question, you know?
I feel like the expectation before we ever started playing music together was that you're just gonna start playing guitar and then become like some international rock star that just tours arenas all the time. And then like not long after starting a band and playing gigs, you realise that, you know, the reality is actually like you're just in the mud and you're probably never going to get out of the mud.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the fact that we're even doing this now pretty much was what I had always dreamed of doing. So now we actually are doing it. But as I say, like it's I never expected, once I started playing in a band, I never expected to get to this point.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting then, does this come back then to what you mentioned earlier, Anna, about perseverance or resilience, that as you try to make it in the music industry, that's kind of what you need as well. As you mentioned, you need to tour, you need to do it in a little van and all that stuff, because it's kind of like paying your dues to get where you are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. We were actually just speaking about this the other day, how, you know, eventually, hopefully one day when we do make it to the point where we can go on tour and we can get a big, like, luxurious bus, we'll actually really appreciate the changes, you know, because we have had to work so hard over the years. Even now, things are going quite well, but we're still having to work really, really hard. And yeah, I guess, yeah.
Let's get into the music then a little bit, because what has been were you all on the same line immediately, kind of when the band started taking off, or did it take some figuring out to see what kind of music you wanted to make?
I think over the years since we started making music together as Dead Pony, it has changed quite a lot. For a while it was kind of just rock music, and then it was punk music, and now I think we found this really good genre, which I almost struggle to define it, and I think it just sounds like Dead Pony. It's modern, but it's also taken a lot of inspiration from artists that we like, and it's anthemic and it's loud and it's angry, and it just sounds like Dead Pony.
Yeah, I think like when we decided to become Dead Pony, that was the point where the reason that we started, like, named ourselves Dead Pony, was because we had written a bunch of music that we knew was, like, sounded fresh and different. So we decided to, like, create Dead Pony and, like, go with it from there. So basically, like, the sort of inception of the band came because of the sort of discovery of the sound that we have, and we knew that we had to kind of put a label on it.
You mentioned the inspirations. Now, what has the impact of Mad Max Fury Road been? Because obviously there's a song called Bullet Farm, but also I saw a picture of you on Instagram kind of dressing up as Furiosa. So what is that kind of aesthetic? What does that do for the band?
So that was when we start. So we had the idea to do an EP. No, sorry, we didn't. We actually just got drunk one night and watched the movie, and then had like a bunch of song ideas during watching the movie. So then we were like, well, let's do an EP and like let's make it Mad Max themed, because we already had these Mad Max songs. And then we kind of just like enjoyed using the kind of like wording of the movie and stuff like that. And I feel like the whole vibe is just like fits in with what we're going for.
Yeah, I also think though, like Mad Max as a movie, it's very dystopian and it's incredibly cinematic, and that's what we wanted to portray in our songs. Like, we wanted the songs to sound like they could have just been plucked straight out of the Mad Max film, or the Mad Max, universe. And I feel like, that kind of like dystopian element of the movie, it just feels like almost real in some ways. And like when we're writing music about Mad Max universes, but it's totally relatable to the world that we're living in at the moment, Yeah.
Is that where you draw a lot of inspiration from, especially thematically, kind of looking at the world around you and seeing where things might go wrong?
Totally. I think for me, I draw a lot of inspiration from film, books, TV. Things that I've watched, I get a lot of inspiration from art. However, that's not to say that it isn't also inspired by just the current. Obviously, everything's going to be inspired by the current world that we live in. It can't not be,
Final question then, because the sound check is getting
quite loud. Sorry.
What is we kind of touched upon it a little bit. Well, what is the ambition then? What is kind of the what would you say if I asked you, why do you do this?
Oh God, I do it just for this, what we're doing right now. Like, we're literally sitting in a venue in Amsterdam, like I've never been here before. I've never seen Amsterdam. We've met the most amazing, incredible people on this tour. Mother as a band and their entire crew have just been so helpful, like, towards us. And we've made a lot of friends, and this is why I do it, just for these experiences, because there's no, in my opinion, there's no other job that I could do that would fulfill me the way that music and making music and touring does.
Nice. Yeah, I think fulfillment is a good way of putting it. Like the way that I see it is like I do this because I have songs that I want to write, and before and if I wasn't to do that, I would feel unfulfilled. So I think fulfillment, the reason we do this is for like that kind of desire of getting your art out there, and and just pretty much what Anna said. Like I feel like this is the only thing we really can do, so might as well do it.
We're good at it.
Might as well have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, what really makes it worth it as well is after the show, we always make a trip to the merch.
We always drink loads of beer.
Yeah, true. But we meet all of the fans and we meet new people, and to hear them say that we've made a difference to their lives or we've inspired them in some kind of way, I actually feel a bit like emotional thinking about it. It just makes me feel so happy.
That's great to hear. Thank you both so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.